Welcome to Taft Heritage. This is the weekly program on the air during the time the Taft Union High School is in session and is produced by the students of Mr. Robert Lindbergh's TV production class. This is program number 152 in the 7th year of our series. During these programs, what we try to do is to bring you something about the West Side, Taft, its history, and a better understanding of our community. We do this by interviewing people who can tell us about their experiences in Taft and in those days gone by to provide some information about the history of Taft. From time to time, we take the show on the road to videotape places, events, places of historical importance, and we also interview interesting people who may come our way. This is a cooperative effort between the Taft Union High School and the West Current Oil Museum, and that is where all the tapes are kept. And just a matter of information, if anybody wants a copy of this tape or any other tape, they can just order it through the West Current Oil Museum. My guest today is a pretty popular man around town right now. In fact, they've suggested that they change the name of Taft to Mashville. It's Tim Mash, the varsity head football coach of the Taft Wildcats, who had a regular, well, I'll let him give me the particulars. Well, Tim, nice to have you here. Welcome to Taft Heritage.
Thank you for the flattering introduction.
Well, congratulations on a great season. Your team and your efforts and the efforts of your assistant coaches must have paid off, because they provided us with a very, very, very exciting season. Now, taking it from an old timer, I've been around here since birth, and I started attending football games in the late 30s. So I've seen a lot of football games, and I enjoy high school football. And from the crowds that I saw this year, there are a lot of people here that also enjoy and continue to enjoy football. Now, tell us about your regular season a little bit, your record, the regular season, and the South Sequoia League.
Okay, thank you, Pete. We had a good season this year, and I think the fans appreciated it because they appreciated the effort of the players. And I thought that we were very probably young team at the beginning of the year. We didn't know what we were going to do. We thought we could win some games. We told them that they could win some games. We didn't know how many. I predicted 6 at the beginning of the year, which was, everybody said, don't get yourself out on a limb, but I figured we had to set some goals somewhere, Pete. We won our first 2 games against non-league teams. Both of them were fairly good teams. In fact, Kern Valley made it, to the playoffs and made it to the second or third round, and they had beaten us last year. So we were 2-0, and we were happy after winning those first 2.
I noticed that particularly in the last playoff game that you had here, there was a large crowd, and they just stayed in the stands. And the players on the field did their usual thing, congratulate the other team. And then what really amazed me, and it was a very emotional thing that at least I thought, was when the team marched along the field shaking hands with the people in the stands after the game. And, that was very nice.
Well, that kind of happened, after let me go on. After we played the first 2 games, and then we went down to San Luis Obispo, I believe you pronounced the last name. I'm not familiar with all the towns here, and they spanked us pretty good down there. They were a very good team. They were 12-2 the year before, and I think I don't know what their playoff record was, but they were 8-1 this year. 9-1 regular season. They were always good. They were a little too big for us to play probably. And then we went over to Shafter, and that was probably our most disappointing game of the year. That was our only conference loss. We were ahead at halftime, and we lost, and a lot of reasons why. Maybe we hadn't really believed that we could win yet, and we did have a chance to beat them, but they beat us fair and square, and I'm not making excuses about it. So we were 2-2, and I felt the turning point of the season was against Wasco. If you were at the game, we were down 16-0 in the first 2 minutes, which is not a very good sign.
Wow.
Yeah, they scored on their first drive, and then we fumbled the kickoff, and they recovered it and scored again. And we came back, and offense played a very good game, and the defense, after they saw the offense get going, they fired up, and it was a very exciting win. I think it was 56-46, something like that. I just know that it was way up there. We scored over 100 points. And with that I think that kind of showed the fans that the game was never over till it was over. And I was alluding back to your question about the fans staying all the time. And from that point on, I noticed the fans stayed the whole game. And then we beat Coalinga the next week, and then we probably had one of the most exciting games that I've ever been involved in with Tehachapi, winning 35-34 with them being on the 5-yard line as time expired in the game and not able to get their field goal team on. And so we were glad. And then we went over to Garces, and after we beat Garces in the last minute, that was kind of, the fans were just so loud because I could hear them roaring behind. I was trying to yell at Justin to change some of the plays at the end because they were changing their defense. And at the beginning of the year, I could yell at him going up to the line, and he'd hear me.
This is Justin Highmiller.
Highmiller, yeah.
Right.
I was trying to yell at Highmiller, and he couldn't hear me. So our fans were so loud at the end, and when we finally scored and we went on defense, one of the assistant coaches, I think Mr. Hill, suggested to me, why don't we let them go over to the fans? And I normally have never done that before, but I thought the fans were very intricate in the game, and they supported us, and they were roaring the whole game. And so we went over, and we had a thing at Garces almost like we had at our last home game. And at that time, I remember when we walked off the field, I said, if we make the playoffs, and if we have a situation where we play a game, we'll let them either go over and do this again after our last game. Whether it be, would that mean we would have had to win the Valley for it to be a winning situation, so win or lose. So that was kind of what do you want to say, it was almost a retake of what we had done earlier in the year.
Well, I missed the 2 games that you mentioned. I was out of the country. I was in Brazil visiting my daughter, but I was getting reports of what was happening. So what I said about the players coming by the stands and greeting the fans, I had done one other time.
Yeah, we had done one other time.
That was a very heartwarming.
Yes.
It was great, and they had their helmets on, and you look down there, and you forget that these are kids, in high school. You see them out there with their helmets on. They look big and all that. When they take their helmets on, they're kids, and they're playing their heart out for the fans.
Yeah,
it's a great experience.
They did a very nice job, and I like that because and probably something that no one noticed other than me is when we beat Tehachapi, and they were 6-0, we went down into our little corner, and before I started to talk, I noticed they went back up by their fans, and their fans cheered them, kind of like our fans did at the end, and I think that was good. Tehachapi has won through the years, and it was like, okay, the fans aren't really giving up on them. Just because things didn't go their way tonight, we're not all going to say, oh, you guys are no good,
Well, we're going to talk more about football and find out something about you, too, but I wanted to mention that we had a great fall sports season.
Yes, you did.
Volleyball, they went to the playoffs, 2 games, right, the girls, I believe?
Yes.
And then in the cross country, we had Billy Nelson again, one of the Valley best. He took the Grand Masters meet in Woodward Park, and I think he's 4th overall in the state. Melissa Miller, a sophomore, is doing very well, and she's right up there too. So it's been a great season for not only football, but all the other sports too.
If I may interject something here, I know we practiced during the summer in football, and I know Coach Reveley had her girls in the volleyball, and so on and so forth. And sometimes the parents don't realize, and I noticed the cross-country team would be out heading down the road running.
Right.
So sometimes people don't understand that it's more than just playing, and I want to compliment Coach Reveley and Coach Dennis on their season, and I know from knowing Coach Eubank what kind of season she's going to have. She has a kind of personality like I have, a little bit. Maybe I have one like hers. Maybe people say she's people say she's tougher than me, though. So I'm just a little lamb. I'm a lamb compared to her. Yeah, I'm a lamb. But
now,
I want to compliment those coaches. They did a nice job.
Now you had assistant coaches too. You didn't do it all by yourself.
Oh, I sure didn't. there's three things, you know, and let me say this, winning, this stuff about, you know, naming the town and all that, that's nice, but that's not really true. The players are first. If the players don't play, we don't win. The assistant coaches are second, in football especially. You can't do it all yourself. And Mr. Emerson was the defensive coordinator and helped with the offensive line, did a great job. He learned our 5-2 defense quickly. And by the end of the season, he was very, very good at calling the plays, and he'll get better and better in this defense as we learn more about it. Coach Hill coached offensive receivers and linebackers. He did a great job developing the receivers and the patterns, and he also coached Justin Highmiller. I coached him the first week and found out I wasn't doing very well, so I turned over to Coach Hill, and that was very good. Okay, we have a coach that does not teach in our school, a new coach, Mr. Rob Cleveland, who coached the offensive and defensive line, and if you're at any of the practices, you hear him from the beginning to the end, and he's really enthusiastic. And he did a very, very nice job. And lastly, I'd really like to compliment our athletic director, Mr. Brown. Came on after the season started in kind of a tough situation, and came in, and I asked him to help. And even though he was very busy, he's an athletic director, he did a great job and coached the linebackers and brought experience and credibility to our varsity team, and those were our 5 coaches, and certainly I had basically I just set up the practices and they ran them. It was like, yeah, I was like kind of like, this is what we're going to do, guys. You're going to do that, and then I was basically their helper, and that's what my role is.
When you say you set up the practice, there are certain things you want each of them to do during a practice session.
We would talk about that. At the beginning, I set the structure, okay? After they understood what we wanted, it almost would be like I don't want to relate it to a classroom, but you have to tell the students what you want them to do in the classroom first. Then after they get the idea of what you're going to do, then they can do it themselves, okay? Very much like me learning anything on the internet. You better show me first, and then I'll go back and do it second, you know? And once I showed them, then they started to suggest to me, well, Coach, we can do this, and that'll be better. So on and so forth, and all I did was set up the practice structure and so on.
Now, let's get back to you and your background. Where were you born, where and when?
I was born in Katanning, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania?
Okay, yes. Well, I was really born in Jeanette, Pennsylvania, but the people who live in California, what's the difference? They were close by. And
right.
I went to high school in Katanning, Pennsylvania.
So that's where you grew up?
That's where I grew up, and that's in the oil country.
Oh, really? Oil
not as much oil, okay, more mountains, but you know, I didn't know we had oil in California until I came out here. I thought all the oil was in Texas and
where
overseas.
is this town located, in the western side?
Okay, it's near Pittsburgh. Big hotbed of high
Which
school
is
football.
on the left side?
Left side, yeah. Way over in the
west.
left corner, yeah.
Near Bradford?
Yeah, near Bradford.
I have a friend in Bradford, Taft High graduate.
I was about 250 miles south of Penn State, which is in the northern end.
I see.
And I was north of Pittsburgh. And so then I moved to Illinois after I graduated from...
Can you tell us something about your parents, where they were born? And
They were born in the same place.
Same place?
Pennsylvania,
Okay.
yeah. My mother is not living anymore. My father is in a retirement home now, and I'm going back to visit him in a couple weeks, and so on and so forth. And they were born there and lived there all their life. And my father was very... he was into teaching also.
He was a
superintendent
teacher?
of a small school
I see.
near Decatur, Illinois.
Is that why you went into teaching?
No.
No?
I wanted to go into business. I had a business degree, and then I kind of really missed coaching, and I liked being around the students and that, so I came back and got an education degree.
I've got to ask you now, why did you decide to go into coaching?
Oh, I just like sports, you know, and I think as your career ends, you have one or two choices. Either you sit in front of the TV all day and watch sports, you know, or you get involved, you know, and, you know, why do people go coach Little League? You know, because of the fact that they enjoyed it. I had good experiences in sports, and I thought that if I coached, then maybe I could help some athletes, male, female, whatever, get some good experience in sports.
So you were out for sports in high school?
Yes, I played a lot of sports in high school.
Okay.
And I don't know how well I played them, but I played them.
So your decision to go on to college was something basically that you learned from your father and mother, I presume?
Well, my dad said I was going to college.
Oh, he did
I
tell
remember
you
he used
that.
to tell me when I was young, you may be a bum, but you're going to be an educated bum. That was his, there was no doubt from the time I was, I could remember, he said, you are going to college, no matter what. And he had that map for me. And then I did play college football. Even at my size, I got beat up, got pounded on.
What position were you playing?
Safety.
Oh,
way in the
okay.
back, yeah. And,
Get the ball
back then,
around.
the boys weren't quite as big as they are
Oh, of
now when
course
I
not.
played. But
Right.
and this was a Division II school, but still, it was still tough because, they get good athletes in
Now,
Division
where did
II.
you go to college?
Eastern Illinois University.
Eastern University.
They played this
Graduated
team.
from there.
Graduated from there, yeah.
Okay, and you went, when did you get into teaching then?
Right after I had a business degree from there, and then I realized I wanted to teach, so I went back for another year, and I got my education degree.
You got your
Yeah,
credentials?
then I went out and I was an assistant coach for 3 years in a Catholic high school, and then I took my first head coaching job after that, and I've been going ever since.
Okay, where did you teach first? What school?
Oh, a long ways back. Rock Island, Illinois, Rock Island, Alabama Catholic school. And then I got my first head coaching job at Murfreesboro, Illinois, which is a town very similar to this.
Is that right?
Southern Illinois, not big, very proud. A great football tradition from the past, almost mimic one another. The great Murfreesboro teams of the 40s and 50s, they talked about when I was there. And then from that, I went to Kansas for 2 years as a head coach in a Topeka City school. And then I took the head job at Downers Grove South, and that's where I've been until I took the early buyout in Illinois and came here.
So you've always kind of liked football.
Yes, I have
coaching.
coached track before, and I've coached
I see.
wrestling before, and I've coached basketball for quite a while. But once I became a head football coach, it was hard to do the other ones because football requires so much time and off-season conditioning.
So can we say football is your favorite sport to
There's
coach?
no doubt.
Okay.
There's no doubt. But I appreciate the other sports. I don't want to make it sound like football is the only sport. It's not. They're all important.
Now, if you're talking to a bunch of young kids, and parents, what would you tell them they could learn by going out for sports or football in particular?
I'll just put it sports, okay, rather than football. I think
Okay.
you learn discipline. You learn that there's somebody out there more than me, and we've worked hard on that this year. And you learn that. You learn discipline. You learn there's somebody more than me. You learn to work as a group. I think one of the main things you learn is you learn to lose, and you learn to lose gracefully, and you learn to lose that. You learn that sometimes you can work real hard, and things don't go your way. And unlike our presidential election, when a football game is over, it's over. And when a basketball game is over, and all of us who've watched sports have seen heartbreaking wins and losses in all sports, where it's gone down to the last second, and
Right.
and maybe the whole game you're winning, and all of a sudden somebody throws a lucky basket up and you lose. And I think that's a good way to take part of life, because we're going to have those same kind of things in life. Nothing's going to go everything your way.
What would you say then would be the most important thing a group of players would have to learn in order to be successful and have a winning season?
I think a winning season, to be successful, I think the most important thing is learning to be a team player, okay, and learning that the whole is always better than the parts. And I've told that to the players before. In other words, the most important part of our team is the whole. It's not me, and it's not them.
And how would you describe the whole?
The whole is all of us together. The whole to me is, what is the outcome of the team? What do we need to do to be successful as a team? Not what do I need to do for you, Joe. And I say Joe. We have Joes on our team here, and I say that's a fictitious name, and I mean that not to Joe. But what do we mean by you? Say Mary. Okay, that's good. We don't have any Marys on our team. To you, Mary, to be successful. I'm not interested in you being successful. That would be okay if you're successful. But the most important thing is that our team is successful. And I'm not exaggerating to say that a lot of our players that I thought at the beginning of the season were kind of like me players, maybe. What's in this for me? At the end, they were very much in it for we.
So they were aware of
They were aware of the we.
others out there.
And I think the fans that were up there yelling were aware of we too. You know, they wanted
That's
a
right.
football team.
That's
They didn't
right.
want to see one player that was good. And that's one reason I like football. I think it's one of the few real team games that are left.
Is there any way that you sum up your coaching style? Anything that pertains to you that is particular or peculiar to you?
No, not peculiar. I think probably like most coaches, I think discipline is important. I think having preparation and letting them know what is going to be expected and then following through with it. I know sometimes, you know, in a classroom, and a teacher or anybody, you know, you could go out to the field one day and you're all hyped up and you're yelling and screaming and everybody's working hard, and the next day the coach is 10 minutes late. You know what I mean? You can't do that. You have to be always consistent. Practice has to start at time. Practice has to end on time. And I remember when I was a younger coach, I used to make that mistake. I'd say, we're going to be done at 5:30. We get done at 7:30 at night. Well, then you're kind of betraying their confidence. And we tried pretty much, if we said practice was going to be from 3:30 to 5:15, by 5:20, we were off the field usually. And I think being consistent, and I think being fair, and willing to admit when you make a mistake. I think there's too many, maybe coaches, I don't know, maybe I'm philosophizing, but too many coaches that never say they make a mistake, like politicians. They never make a mistake. I made a lot of mistakes this season, called a lot of bad plays, called a lot of good plays, called a lot of bad plays, and I'll be the first to say to an athlete, if I make a mistake, and in fact I embarrassed somebody in front of the team one day, and I apologized in front of the team to him the next day, because that was my mistake. And I think if we can't admit our mistakes, then we're going to go through life, and it's always somebody else's fault. Then, you know, you go through your whole life, and things have been bad to you because it's always the guy gave me the ticket. You know, the teacher gave me the grade. The boss doesn't like me. My wife hates me. You know, it's never them. It's always outside things. I think we have to look at ourselves, and I'm not afraid to do that. It doesn't bother me.
What I've noticed in what you're saying here is that it's more than a job of just going out there and blowing the whistle and we go through these plays and all that. So you're really thinking about football, even though you're not out there, you're not practicing, kind of a 24-hour.
Well, not 24, but yeah,
Well,
I think about. I'm off of it a little
so
bit now.
to
This
speak.
is a relaxation. Yeah, this is the time now till we come back after Christmas. Then it's my job to organize next year's team through weightlifting. We certainly want the students to play other sports. We need to get other students into athletic PE that aren't in there now, so they can lift weights during the day and not interfere with their soccer and basketball, which a lot of them are playing. I know a lot are going to be in baseball later. So that's my job to do that. But and so on and so forth. And it's also my job to meet with the students and the parents, which I have done, and try to get them to see where I'm coming from, and that, you know, I have to go with what is best for the overall program. I'll give you one example. We had two tailbacks at the beginning of the season. They were both about even, I thought, but one of them was a very good defensive player, and we were not going to play guys two ways. So I brought him in after the second game, and I said, well, Derek, everybody knows who he is. I said, Derek, you will be defensive end, and you will be backup tailback. And I said, that's the best for our team. So he looked at me, he said, okay. And he never said a word about it. And I know he would like to play some more tailback. He scored a lot of touchdowns on our power team, but he would like to, but he made that sacrifice for our team. And he ended up making all conference because of it. So that was good. And we also ended up having a good sophomore tailback. So there was a situation where one of our athletes could have said, oh, coach, it's not fair, blah, 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 and probably wouldn't have won as many games. So not only he, but quite a few players did that this year. They took positions that maybe they really didn't, they would like to play the more glory position, you know, but they had to do what was best for the team, and they did that.
So from your standpoint, then, football is, when you start your practices or you start thinking about it, it's pretty much thinking most of the day.
Not most of the day, no.
You
Your
don't
teams too, yeah. I don't
disregard
make it
your
sound that way,
class.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll get in trouble. No, not most of the day, no. You have class and everything, but, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, and there's a, I don't know, I can't really explain. There's a place where I feel like we need to get to have success. We weren't there in the summer. I didn't think we were there even in the fall. but it came as the year went on, and I thought we had it. After the Wasco game, I could tell when we came back to practice Monday, we were changed. It was our first conference win in a long time, and it was like, okay, we understand what you want us to do now, and we've made these sacrifices, and now we're getting some rewards. The terrible thing would have done, and could have worked out this way. I told them, we could play this season over again and not win as many games, but the terrible thing is to work hard and not get any rewards. We could have worked hard and not had any wins. But since they had the wins, they worked hard and they saw the rewards also.
How do you motivate your team?
Just what we've been talking about.
Those things that we've been
most of the stuff that we've been talking about, that they have to do it. I can motivate them from the outside, but I find out, the motivation from the outside doesn't work, because once the game starts, they're out there on their own. And also, like in the weight room, I can try to motivate them, but as soon as I turn my back, are they going to keep doing it?
Right.
Very much. If you're not motivated, anybody who's working for somebody, you could relate this to anybody who's ever worked. If you don't like your job, as soon as your boss walks away, you're going to start horsing around.
One thing I noticed that even toward the end of the season, you'd watch the team even in the second half, and it always seemed to me that the team seemed to be still getting in there, and like they weren't tired, and they were plugging away, doing what they're supposed to do, and sometimes came back from behind to win the games. Now, you use the two-platoon system, and I haven't seen that in high school for many years, and I was going to ask you about that.
Well, when we came here, I looked at the tapes from last year. I didn't think we could catch up with the weightlifting in 1 year that the other schools have done. And I felt, looking at what we had coming back and what we had, we'd be better off perhaps. We perhaps had some seniors that are offensive linemen, but we could have put and played both ways. But by halftime, they would have been dead, and they would have been worse off playing both ways than if we took somebody who maybe was a junior or another senior that hadn't got a lot of playing time last year, like we had some guys like Jeff Timms. And we put them over there, and they developed, and it turned out it was better that way. And at first, some of the players didn't like only playing one way. But then when we got against the better teams, against the Garces and that, I think they appreciated getting off the field and getting a little break.
And I suppose some were on offense and they wanted to play defense.
Well, we had a little bit of that, yeah. We did have some players that played somewhat both ways, but nobody started.
Like I say, they appeared very fresh. They'd come charging out of that huddle to the line, and it was much different than your opponents. One thing I've noticed, when they come out, the offensive team comes out, you seat them down on the bench, and you get that board out there. Now, what are you telling them? What are you discussing?
Usually we just do that early to make sure that they're doing exactly what they did that we had prepared for all week. And then I'll talk to Justin as the game goes on, and as teams later in the season begin to change their coverage on us without getting into anything too technical, they change their defense on us. They didn't do that early. That's one reason we scored a lot early. They got a little smarter to what we were doing on offense later in the year. And we'll talk. And also, I think that if you're a spectator in a game, you're not a player. Okay, and if you notice, sometimes I won't even watch the defense. I didn't even watch when Tehachapi was driving down the field at the end, when they had a chance, only if I know we're not going to get the ball back. Because if you're a spectator, you're not a player. If I go to a pro game, I'm a spectator. I'm a watcher. If I watch on TV, I'm a watcher. I wanted them off their feet. I wanted them thinking about the next series, what we needed to do on offense. Okay? Them being up yelling for the defense wasn't going to help the defense any. It wasn't. We didn't need two more people rooting them on. We had plenty up in the stands rooting them on. And sometimes I had to pull them back because they didn't like that. Everybody wants to watch, But after a while, I noticed our linemen, they would head right over the bench and sit down. And it helped us a lot, I thought, early in the year when it was hot, to get us off our feet and sit down and to last the four quarters.
You not only got that board out and talked to them, but then after that, you'd go right down the line talking to individual players. Was it something you were trying to find out? Or?
It depends when it was. If things were going well, if it's, like it was at Arvin after the start of the game and we're scoring on every series, then there's not much to say. Mm-hmm. Go back and sit down, we'll get you later, And and so on. If it's a close game and it's early in the game, then I have a tendency to go back there more. If they're changing things a lot, I'll go back there. I'm asking them sometimes what plays we can run, and they help me a lot. They know there's certain plays we didn't run in the last game.
They let you know what's happening.
Let me know
to
where
them
they let me know where the defense is playing, so we know a little bit where we can try to run the ball. Because I can't see that. I can see the secondary moving around, but I can't see the line.
What do you look for in a potential player?
Somebody who's willing to put the time in. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. Yeah,
That
I don't
means
look
being to practice every day.
being to practice, being a good citizen. You know, not coming one day and not the next day. And somebody who's willing to develop. See, one thing in football, there's a lot of different positions. You can be big and not real fast and play on the line. You know, and so there's a lot of different spots for people in football.
Does it help a young man coming into high school to go on for football that first year and go right through 4 years to the varsity?
Yes.
Because so often, once in a while, you see them, well, I'm going to wait till my varsity year to go out there.
Not at all. In fact, we had a player this year who started for us at tight end, and he hadn't played, and he would have been a great, I mean, he was good. He was a good player. But how much better he'd have been if he'd have played 4 years high school football. He might have been a college prospect as a tight end. I thought he was excellent for just coming out this year. We had a couple players that came out this year, one juniors that hadn't been out before. If they stick around next year, they'll help us. I don't like athletes who bypass. See, to me, that's like I hear some, you know, I've heard in other years, you know, from other teams where somebody said, well, I played as a sophomore, but I'm not going to play as a junior, so I won't go out this year. Well, then you're worried about me. You're not worried about our team.
Yeah.
So the way I feel, if you don't want to play as a junior, then go play something else. You know?
What brought you to California?
I took an early buyout in Illinois without getting into a long situation. They took teachers who had a number of years of experience, like over 20 years of teaching, and they offered everybody a package because they were paying us too much. And they offered us a retirement package and said, if you want to get out, you can get out. So a lot of teachers took it, but one of the stipulations was you can't teach in an Illinois public school. So if I wanted to continue teaching and I thought I was too young to retire.
Once that happened, you couldn't teach
I couldn't teach, yes. So it was either go teach in another state. So I wasn't going to go to Minnesota. I wasn't going to go to another cold state. So I went on the internet, really. And I started to apply for jobs that were open in California and Arizona and Nevada. And I did receive some replies, and I flew to California twice. And then I interviewed at Taft, and then they offered me a job, and so I took
you
it.
came out here to look us over and talk to the people around?
Well, they came out to look me over, I guess. Yeah, I talked to the people, and I came out. Yeah, I flew to Taft in March, and came out on a Friday, I think, Thursday night, and drove up from L.A. That was fun. And
Now,
got to Taft.
Why did you decide on us?
Well, you offered me a job. That was part of it. And although I did have another job offer, and I'm not saying that braggingly, a bigger school. And I don't know. There was just something about this town. It reminded me a little bit of the first head coaching job I had. It was a smaller town. Let's just say it was a little more like maybe the town I was brought up in high school, the town I lived in. I saw kind of, I don't know, a toughness here. You know, people, and maybe people saying oil. You know, I'm thinking these guys are tough. You know, maybe I was misspoken. You know, but or misthought. But I liked the area. I liked the facilities. I liked Mr. Brown. I thought he was sincere, and I liked the interview committee. I just liked the way everything was conducted.
You were interviewed by a number of people.
A number of people, yes.
Yeah.
Principal, Mr. Wickwire, Mr. Brown was there, and then they had an interview committee of some teachers. And that were there also.
So after that, you went back home, and
I went back home, and then they called me, and I thought it over for a day. You know, I didn't really want to fall on my face, but I figured I'm old enough. What the heck, you know? So it was either like I retire and take a substitute teaching job and continue to coach where I was at. And you know, I'd been there for a long time, and there was nothing that we were going to do now. We had won the conference 15 years in a row. You know, we weren't going to, you know, what was the difference if we won a 60? And they did. They won it without me, so they didn't need me anyway.
So once you were offered the job and you accepted, what did you do then?
I flew out one more time, and I met with the coaches that I was going to have, and we talked about spring practice, and then I flew back, and then in May, our school was dismissed at 11 o'clock on like May 26th, and at 12 o'clock I boarded a plane and headed for California, and then we started spring practice on Monday afterwards. So it was kind of a hectic weekend.
So you came out with
Yeah,
plans already for...
we had emailed a lot of stuff back and forth, and the coaches really cooperated, and they had the players ready, and we didn't have a long spring practice, and it wasn't great because we didn't have much time to organize it, but at least we got something going in the spring.
Well, how long did the spring practice last?
5
here?
days.
5 days?
5 days, that's all we did, because we were late. It was late in the year, and they had the dead week for finals, and so then we came back, and we did have a summer program, and I want to commend the assistant coaches for doing a great job, both sophomore level coaches and freshman level coaches for doing a good job of running their summer programs and getting athletes into those also.
Well, we're going to pause here because these students have to go on to the next period class, and as soon as the next period comes in, then we'll get organized again and continue from that point. Summer practice, okay?
Thank you. Bye, girls.
Thanks a lot, kids.
Is that enough, or do you want to do more, a little more?
Yeah, I've got a few more, as long as you can
I can
stay.
stay about another 10, 15 minutes. Is that
Oh,
okay?
well, that'll be fine. Summer practice, and that's what, okay? Well, tell us about summer practice. Now, how did that work out?
Well, Coach Clark, of course, he likes to be called Councilman Clark right now. He makes me call him that. So, Councilman Clark, and congratulations, Les. Coach Brogdon and Coach Winahan, they ran their own sophomore program almost at the same time as we did, and we shared the weight room, and they did an excellent job. And again, everybody came out in the summer. The coaches didn't get any pay for that. That was all volunteer time.
Is that right?
Yes, and they volunteered many hours. Okay, Coach Wagner and Coach Goodwin ran the summer program for the freshmen. They had the weight room open, and I think that's one of the reasons we had a big turnout for freshman football this year, good numbers, and I want to thank those coaches for putting time in the summer. You know, without really any monetary rewards, they did that just because they wanted the players to be successful. And then the varsity coaches I already mentioned earlier, we ran the varsity program. And I think there's 4 weeks that we worked. We didn't come every day. Came about 3 days a week, and we had some summer passing league. I believe that helped us a lot to get us at least ready for football. And some of the athletes that missed a little bit of summer camp were behind when they started in the fall, and I think they realized that.
Was there some effort to coordinate the practice between the freshmen, the junior varsity and the varsity?
Not as much as I'd like to, and as I talked to some of the coaches, they'd like to do a better job of that next year. They knew what we wanted them to do, but what we did on the varsity level was at a much higher level. We actually worked on our plays, and we worked on, you know, doing a lot of things where the sophomores and freshmen worked a little more on just conditioning. So perhaps with a year under our belt of this offense and defense, they'll be able to do a lot more next year. I know I've had some of the coaches already tell me they'd like to do more next year with the summer program.
So it's going to be coordinated so they're using the same offense regardless of what
Yeah,
level?
well, they used the same offense, but they just didn't, let's just say we only had a week to learn it in the spring, and they just didn't, we didn't have the knowledge of the offense that I think that we're ending with at the end of the year right now. All of us, not just...
We talked about weight room a little bit now. Weight room workouts are very important too, aren't they?
Well, there's two ways to go in the weight room. One, you go in there and you stand around and talk to everybody for 15 minutes and you do one curl and a couple pull downs and you go, nice workout. The other way is to go in there and actually do a weight program where you do the squat, where you do the bench, and where you do the power clean. And I very much believe in those three lifts for all sports. I think that they will help everybody. And if you're going to be in weights, you need to do those lifts, not when you're real young, but when you get to high school, you need to do those lifts, and that's what I call weight workout. So I don't call weight workout recreational.
Now, earlier you mentioned the parents and the players and all that. Did you make an effort to meet with the parents at all?
I visited all the varsity parents' homes, and most of the parents were very, I shouldn't say most, let's say all. All of them were very supportive of the summer program. Many of them told me stories about when they played at Taft, in the old days, as they called it, so on and so forth.
Did you tell them what you expected out of the players and things of that nature?
To a degree, yes. We talked about that, and I told them what it would need, what I thought it would need to turn our program around, and we talked about it.
If you were speaking to 7th and 8th graders and their parents, what would you tell them about high school football?
High school football is a good experience. High school football is probably not for every single person. I think there's a lot of room in high school football, especially now that we're going to play 22 players. And again, I like other sports. I tried to play basketball, wasn't big enough. Tried to wrestle, I was okay. I ran track and so on. But I think in football, there's a lot more opportunities because there's more positions. And so I think it's a good learning game. It's a good experience for them. I think it's a true team game where they have to sacrifice. Linemen get very little credit, yet they do a lot of work, and so on and so forth. And it's a different kind of game. It's really a team game. It's a camaraderie game. It's a game where perhaps your tailback and your quarterback are the only ones the people know in the stands, yet the linemen are doing all the work. And people who know football appreciate that, and the players that know it, they know what's going on. So, and I appreciate it, and the other coaches do. And it's a different experience. It teaches them how to be a team person and not a me guy.
Are you going to make some effort to go to the elementary school and talk to the younger kids about the high school program?
Yes, we did last year in the spring too, and we also had a nice visit where we took all our players over one day, and they at the grade school, and they took their uniforms over and had kids try them on, and I thought that was really neat. And the other sports were there too, and the band was there, and it was really great, and so on and so forth. So, yes, I will visit the junior high schools, and I'll also try to coordinate with the JFL program. They do a very good job, the JFL coaches, and I went out and watched a few Saturdays, and I didn't get involved or anything. That's their programs. We want every one of those 8th graders to play. We need everybody. We play a team like Liberty next year. They have 75 juniors coming back, plus 75 sophomores they're adding. So they're going to have 150 players out there. If they all stay out, we better have some bodies on the field because we're not going to beat them with 11, I don't think.
I notice other ways that you are involving the players in other sports and all that in the community. You all were in the Christmas parade the other night.
Yes, that was fun. We couldn't get everybody there. A lot of the players had practices at that time, which was fine. I understand that. Their other sports come first now, and some of them couldn't make it. But we had quite a few there, and I want to, what'll be after this, I hope everybody comes to our banquet that we're going to have, and so on and so forth.
This program, of course, will come after.
Well, let's hope you all enjoyed the banquet. Let's put it that way.
Right. Okay, how do you develop a plan for a particular opponent? How do you find out about what they're doing and things of that nature?
What we usually do is we make copies of the tapes. We trade a lot of I'll just give you this, and a lot of people don't know this. We trade tapes with the other team usually on Saturday morning or Friday night. Then we come and immediately make copies of them, and usually we'd start out as coaches. I would give some to the defensive coaches. I would take some. And then sometimes at the beginning of the year, we'd meet actually on Saturday afternoon and talk for a little while after we watched the tape once, because we didn't really know much about the other opponents, and we'd do that. And then I would talk to Mr. Emerson on Sunday morning. He would develop what he thinks would be a game plan, and I would work on Saturday night, sometimes very late, working on what I thought would be we'd do on offense. Not a whole lot of changes, just what we want to do against their defense. And then usually Coach Emerson and I will meet on Sunday morning, and we would go through the whole thing. We'd have other coaches get involved too, special team coaches and that, Coach Hill, and and other coaches would get involved. they'd all have tapes. And then eventually, at some time during the day on Sunday, we would take this printed thing to the copy room and make about 55 copies of what we wanted to do on offense and defense. And it would contain their best plays and what our defenses were, and then would contain our offenses, and I'd draw up how we were going to block versus their defense. And then the players picked those up on Monday. And,
so Monday when they show up for practice, you're ready to go on a plan for the next opponent.
Oh yes, you can't wait till Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday you've already lost it, so we had to. It makes for long weekends during the year for the coaches.
Well, any plans now for next year? What's happening?
We'll start kind of making sure that we have quite a few of our athletes in athletic PE, so that takes care of them. I'd like to get the rest of our juniors and sophomores into our athletic PE classes. We need that. They're going to be our varsity next year, and then that way I can encourage them to play other sports, and they can still lift, and I get a chance to talk to them and monitor their grades, and if I need to see them about a complaint by a teacher or something like that, I'm there with them. It just gives me a chance to see them. If not, I may not see somebody for 5 days or 6 days or 10 days. And for those that can't get into athletic PE, we're going to start after school weightlifting for those not involved in sports come January. I want to give them, I think they deserve a month off. It's been a long season. We played all the way to December, I believe almost December, right after Thanksgiving. And so they need from now until we get back from Christmas break, and they're kind of lifting on their own, but from then on I'll be in the weight room.
Are you enjoying your month off?
Yeah, and it's not, the winter program, and that's not hard. It's just weightlifting and so
Well,
on.
at the opening of the program, we talked about the many thrills and the excitement that we saw in our fall sports here, and we talked about the various sports that we have in their records. Now, the Wildcats were able to place 6 players on the first team on the All-South Sequoia League. You had receiving Chris Hill. I noticed this is out of the paper. Quarterback Justin Heimiller. Lineman Bobby Crabtree. Running back Chet Goff. Now, I had his father as a counselee, and I remembered his father, what kind of a back he was. Did he ever beat his father's record?
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't even know, what. I heard his dad was a very good athlete.
The defensive end was Derek Furman, linebacker Jeff Boyd. And also on the second team all honors, lineman Adam Capehart, defensive lineman Drew Harrington, and defensive back Josh Upshaw. The Lady Wildcats had 2 players on the all SSL list, Leanne Barnes and Ashley Miller. So it was a great fall program, and I hesitated to say anything about this because you kind of don't want to single out individual players. Right?
I don't like that, and we have to give some awards, which will already be given by the time this airs, on Monday, and we had a hard time doing that. How do you pick?
Right.
If the line doesn't block for Justin Heimiller, he's not an all-conference quarterback. And if the line doesn't block and Justin doesn't throw, then we don't have all-conference receivers. And Chet doesn't gain all those yardage. I would rather keep it as a team, but I think those are honored. And I like the fact that we did get to honor some of the linemen. That was probably the most important part of it because they get very little credit. I mean, everybody knows who Chet is. Everybody knows who Justin is. And I'm not taking it away from them. I'm just saying that I really
agree.
Think the team game. I'm giving a different award this year, and the players will be surprised. They'll be already given away. We're going to have what's called Scout Team Player of the Year. And that's going to be one of the biggest awards we're going to have money.
Scout Team Player of the Year?
That's right. That's somebody who didn't play, that did a good job on what we call our scout teams. That's a team that simulates the other offense and defense. Because that's a very unselfish thing, because normally you get pounded on. And there's no thanks for it, and so we're going to try to, I really think you need to, I've always done that, and I think it's one of the things that's brought our teams together, and so on and so forth, and, I want to honor these guys that made all conference. We had to go up and nominate. We nominated a lot of other players that didn't make it. I couldn't vote. You can't vote for your own players, and all we can do is go by what the other coaches select, and so, I'm glad and honored for the ones that are on there, but I wish we could have more. See, I'd like to have our whole team. our whole.
Of course.
But you can't do that.
Of course.
No, get stuck
Well, you've given us a lot of information about the program, and I'm sure the people who are watching this are going to find out a lot about Taft High football and other sports too.
Thank you, Pete.
But we've got to
Pleasure.
conclude the program. This will conclude another Taft Heritage. We hope that our viewers have enjoyed the program, and I wish to thank my guest today, the head varsity coach Tim Mash, for coming and bringing us all this information. We hope you'll be with us again when we bring you another program in this series as we continue to explore our rich and interesting heritage. For Taft Heritage, this is Pete Gianopulos saying thank you for watching.